It was a rainy evening, and the city streets were wet and shiny. From the falling rain, people hurried along with umbrellas or hoods. Pulled tight against the wind and drizzle in the middle of the crowd, she carried a small tray of coffee cups from the cafe where she worked. Her day had been long and tiring. She had been running between tables, taking orders and trying to keep up with the constant flow of customers. Her feet were sore and her back ached, but she kept going because she needed the job to support her family. She loved her work in a quiet way because it gave her a sense of purpose. But she also often wished for a little more time for herself, as the hours seemed to stretch endlessly before her. He was walking in the opposite direction. He had just left a small office where he had spent the afternoon trying to finish some paperwork. He had been through difficult times recently and was still trying to find his footing. His heart felt heavy with memories he could not forget. In thoughts of mistakes he wished he could undo. The rain made him feel both tired and reflective. He walked slowly, hands deep in his pockets, barely noticing the people around him as he focused on the small puddles forming on the sidewalk. They met at a corner near a streetlight. Where the cafe was located, the bell above the cafe door rang as she stepped out. Carrying the tray, her foot slipped slightly on the wet pavement, and she tried to steady herself at the same moment he was turning the corner. His eyes met the tray, and then her face. They collided gently. She stumbled forward and nearly dropped. The coffee buddy reached out instinctively and grabbed the edge of the tray. His hand brushed hers, and they both froze for a moment. The coffee cups wobbled but did not fall. He steadied the tray with careful hands and looked into her eyes. She gave a small, almost shy smile and took a deep breath, trying to regain her balance. She thanked him quietly. He nodded and stepped back into the flow of people. But both of them felt a strange pull, a sudden awareness of someone new in their world. The rain continued to fall, and they parted ways. But the moment lingered in their minds. She returned to the cafe and placed the tray on the counter. Shaking slightly from the unexpected encounter, she could not stop thinking about the man who had helped her. The kindness in his eyes and the way he had moved quickly yet gently stayed with her as she wiped tables and served other customers. He walked on and found a small bench under a tree to sit and watch the rain. He kept thinking about her and how unexpected their meeting had been. He did not usually notice strangers, but something about her presence felt different. It was not just her face or the way she moved, it was the energy. The quiet strength she carried. Even while struggling with a long day over the next few days, they kept running into each other in the city. Sometimes it was outside the cafe, sometimes it was near a bus stop, or walking past a park. They exchanged small smiles or a brief word, but never more than that. Each encounter built a silent connection. Neither of them knew why they felt drawn to each other. They were careful, cautious, yet secretly excited by the chance of meeting again. He started noticing small details. He seemed to notice her too. He remembered the way she adjusted her coat when it rained, or how she laughed softly when a child dropped a toy nearby. She noticed that he sometimes carried a small notebook and would write quietly. While sitting on a bench, she wondered what he was writing and imagined stories about his life and his thoughts. One afternoon, the cafe was unusually busy and she was struggling to keep up with orders. The pressure was intense, and her hands moved quickly from one cup to another. She glanced outside and saw him standing under the awning. Waiting for the rain to ease, he waved briefly, and she waved back. Feeling a sense of relief that someone she knew was nearby, even if they were not close yet, he came in to buy a coffee. She smiled genuinely as she handed it to him. They talked for a few minutes about the weather and the small chaos of the cafe. She felt nervous but comfortable at the same time. The conversation was light, but there was an unspoken curiosity about each other. Turned into weeks, and their brief encounters became more frequent. They started to recognize patterns in each other's routines. She would see him at the same time every afternoon near the cafe. He would notice her walking home in the evening. Sometimes they would cross paths on the same street corner and share a word or a smile. Each meeting was short but meaningful. Through these small interactions, a fragile sense of friendship began to grow. They did not talk about their pasts or personal struggles at first. They shared small observations about the city, the weather, or the little things happening around them. The connection was gentle and careful, but it was becoming a part of their daily lives. One rainy evening, they walked together for a short distance, both holding umbrellas and trying not to get too close. yet feeling the warmth of the other's presence. She mentioned how the rain always made her feel both sad and calm. He agreed and added that it reminded him of times he had spent alone thinking about life. They walked silently for a while, just moving together in the rhythm of the falling rain that night. After parting ways, both felt a strange emptiness, as if something important had happened, but they were not sure what. It was a mixture of excitement and hesitation. They wondered if the other felt the same pull, or if it was only their imagination. The city continued its busy life, and they continued their routines yet. Now there was a new layer to their days. A sense of anticipation lingered every time they stepped outside or walked down familiar streets. They both hoped, without admitting it, that their paths would cross again. Soon the story of their chance encounter had quietly begun. Forming a foundation of curiosity and gentle connection, their lives were still complicated and busy, but the small, unexpected moments had planted a seed of something deeper. A love story was beginning, one that neither of them could yet name, but both could feel growing with each passing days passed, and the small connection between them quietly grew stronger. Every meeting in the city's streets felt less like a coincidence and more like something meant to happen. She noticed him noticing her in ways that felt gentle and kind. He observed small details about her without making her feel uncomfortable or exposed. Their interactions were slow and careful, like two people learning to trust each other without words. One afternoon, she finished her shift at the cafe feeling exhausted but content. She stepped outside into the soft sunlight after the rain had stopped and saw him sitting on a bench. Nearby, he smiled and gestured for her to come closer. She walked slowly, feeling a flutter of nervousness as she approached. They talked about simple things at first, the flowers blooming in the small park across the street, the children playing in the puddles and laughing as they ran past them. The conversation was easy and light, but each word carried a sense of connection. Neither rushed to fill silences, and each comfortable pause felt like a quiet understanding. Over the next few days, they began to meet intentionally. Without saying it aloud, they would walk together for a few blocks or wait at the same corner before going their separate ways. Each time they learned a little more about each other without even trying. Sometimes they laughed at small mishaps in the street or shared a look when someone else caused a minor accident. It was these simple moments that made them feel closer. One rainy evening, she forgot her umbrella, and he noticed. She offered a small smile when he opened his and invited her to share it. They walked together silently through the dripping streets. The soft patter of rain on the umbrella created a quiet world around them. She felt a sense of comfort she had not felt in a long time, felt the same warmth inside him, as if the world had slowed down just for these few minutes there. Friendship began to carry small gestures. She would sometimes leave a cup of coffee on his usual bench when she saw he had been sitting there before her shift. He would return the favor with a small snack or a note simply saying, "Good day." They both felt the joy of giving without expecting anything in return, and the little acts made their connection feel real and alive. They started to share more personal thoughts in small pieces. She spoke about her dreams for the future and the things she wanted to accomplish despite the challenges in her life. He shared fragments of his past struggles and moments he wished he could change. They did not speak of heartbreak directly, but the sadness and hope in their words built an invisible bridge between them. One evening, they decided to sit by a quiet river in the city. The water flowed slowly and reflected the fading light of the sky. She talked about her family and the small joys they shared at home. He listened carefully and responded with questions that showed he was paying attention. Each answer was thoughtful and gentle. She felt seen in a way she had rarely experienced before. They began to notice the patterns in each other's lives, the way she walked with purpose when she had a busy day, but slowed down when there was time to breathe, the way he always paused at certain corners to look at something that caught his eye or write in his notebook. They began to feel a silent rhythm, a harmony that made the world feel more alive. Friends and coworkers started noticing the change in her. She seemed lighter, more present, and often smiled even during stressful moments. They could not explain why, but it was clear that something had shifted. She did not yet speak of him to anyone, but carried the moments they shared in her heart. One evening, they watched the sunset from a small hill overlooking the city. He brought a small snack, and she shared a story from her childhood about a river near her home. They laughed at the memory, and both felt the quiet joy of being understood without judgment. Each glance and gesture deepened the bond between them despite The closeness that was growing, they remained careful with their feelings. They did not rush to define what was happening, nor did they speak of love directly. The connection was fragile and new. Yet it had a strength that both recognized in the quiet moments they spent together on. Some days they would simply sit in silence on a park bench watching the world go by. Occasionally, a stray dog or a small child would interrupt their quiet, but they would smile and return to their shared stillness. The comfort of presence without words became one of the most precious parts of their growing friendships. Mall. Disagreements arose sometimes when misunderstandings occurred or when one misread a gesture, but they always resolved them gently. Their conversations about these moments helped them learn how to communicate and trust each other more deeply. Each challenge strengthened the bond they were building rather than weakening it through rain and sunshine. The rhythm of their meetings continued. They never planned it in advance, but always seemed to find each other. The city became a shared space filled with small signs of recognition and care. Every meeting was a small chapter in the quiet unfolding of something neither of them could yet name, but both could feel growing. They began to feel anticipation for the next meeting. A subtle excitement that did not overwhelm, but made each day brighter. She found herself thinking of him while walking to work. He found himself hoping to see her on streets that had been part of his daily routine for years. The connection had moved from fleeting encounters to something essential in their lives. One evening, as the sun disappeared behind the buildings, she paused and watched him approach. She felt a gentle warmth spread through her chest as he came closer. He smiled and they shared a quiet laugh over a small puddle that splashed as he stepped over it. They continued walking together, letting the world around them pass unnoticed for a little while longer. The small gestures, the shared silences, the gentle words and looks had built a friendship that felt real and safe. They both knew that life was not simple and that challenges awaited them, but for now they allowed themselves to be present in these moments of quiet joy. The world felt softer when they were together, and they silently cherished the growing bond. As evening turned to night and the city lights flickered on, they found a quiet spot near a fountain. She spoke about a dream she had for a place she wanted to visit someday. He listened, nodding and imagining it with her each word. Each glance, each quiet moment of understanding became another thread in the tapestry of their friendship. Days turned into weeks, and the rhythm of their interactions became a comforting presence in both their lives. They did not know what the future held, but they both knew that this connection, however undefined, was precious and rare. The small steps they had taken together were slowly transforming into a bond that neither of them wanted to lose. They began to trust each other with small secrets and moments of vulnerability. She told him about a fear she had carried for years. He listened without judgment, simply holding space for her words. He shared a hope he had kept to himself. For a long time she responded with encouragement and quiet understanding. These exchanges, gentle and careful, deepened the unspoken trust between them through shared experiences. Small acts of kindness and quiet moments of reflection, they learned to understand each other in ways that went beyond words. They began to feel that, even without saying it aloud, they were becoming part of each other's daily life in a way that mattered profoundly. They were learning to care without expectation and to be present without needing to define it. The story of their growing friendship continued, slowly unfolding like the pages of a book written in small gestures. Quiet conversations and shared silences every day added to the delicate bond that had started with a simple act of kindness on a rainy evening and now had grown into something both of them felt deeply inside. Time passed, and the friendship that had grown slowly began to face new challenges. They had become accustomed to seeing each other often, but life started to demand attention in ways that made their connection more difficult to maintain. She found herself working longer hours at the cafe to cover extra expenses at home, and he faced responsibilities that pulled him away from the streets and parks where they usually met. One morning, she rushed through the crowded city streets feeling anxious. She had overslept and was late for her shift. Her mind was full of tasks and worries, and she barely noticed the people around her when she rounded a familiar corner. She saw him sitting on a bench. He smiled and waved, but she could not stop to talk. She gave a small nod and hurried past, feeling a pang of regret that she could not stay to share a few moments. He watched her disappear into the crowd and felt a familiar ache in his chest. The brief connection they had shared seemed fragile now that life was pulling them in different directions. He wondered if she would ever find the time to stop and simply be present in the moments they had once shared. Days turned into weeks, and they missed several planned encounters without saying it aloud. Each hoped the other would reach out, but both were caught up in the demands of daily life. She felt a growing frustration with herself for not having more time. He felt the same struggle as he juggled responsibilities and tried to keep his world in balance during this period. They both experienced moments of sadness and longing. She would walk past the places they used to meet and catch glimpses of memories in her mind: the bench by the park, the quiet streets, the soft light of the city in the evening. They reminded her of him and the small gestures that had meant so much. He, too, would think of the quiet conversations and laughter they had shared and feel a sense of loss in the absence of those moments. One afternoon, they finally crossed paths again. She had finished her shift earlier than expected and decided to take a short walk through the city. He had finished his work and was sitting by the river, watching the water flow silently between the reflections of the buildings. She approached slowly, unsure if he would still feel the same connection after the time apart. When he saw her, he stood quickly and smiled. The warmth of recognition and relief passed between them as if no time had been lost. Their conversation began cautiously, both aware of the gap the weeks had created, but also feeling the pull that had never fully disappeared. They spoke about the reasons for their absence, the extra work, responsibilities at home, and the struggles each had faced. They listened carefully and offered understanding rather than judgment. Each shared feeling of frustration was met with empathy and gentle encouragement. They both realized that, even though life had kept them apart for a while, the bond they had built was still present and waiting. That evening, they walked together slowly, noticing the details of the city in a new way: the lights reflecting on wet streets, the soft sound of distant voices, and the smell of rain lingering in the air. They felt a quiet sense of reconnection. Small moments rebuilding the trust and closeness that had begun to fade. Over the next few days, they began to meet more regularly again. They started to share thoughts and feelings that they had held back during the separation. She spoke about her worries and the strain of managing multiple responsibilities. He spoke about the challenges he had faced and the doubts that had crossed his mind. These conversations were honest and raw, building a new layer of understanding between them. Yet life continued to test their bond. They faced small misunderstandings, moments of impatience, and lingering fears that the connection might not survive the pressures of the world outside their shared moments. Some days one would arrive at a meeting point to find the other delayed or absent. The worry and disappointment would ripple quietly between them, but they always found ways to reconnect and move forward. One evening, after a long day of responsibilities, they found themselves sitting on a quiet hill overlooking the city. She spoke about the fear of losing the connection they had built. He responded with quiet reassurance, sharing his own doubts and fears. They realized that acknowledging these feelings openly strengthened their bond. Rather than weakening it, the city around them felt both vast and intimate. They noticed the rhythm of the people moving, the distant sounds of cars, and the soft glow of windows in the buildings around them. Their connection felt like a small sanctuary amidst the chaos, a place where they could breathe and simply exist with each other without the pressures of the world. Pressing in during this time, they began to reflect more deeply on what the other meant to them. The moments of absence had made them aware of the importance of presence and attention. She realized that the little gestures, the shared silences, and the simple walks together were not just enjoyable, but essential to her sense of peace. He recognized the same truth, feeling that her presence had become a source of stability and comfort in his life despite the challenges. They found ways to make time for each other. She would leave her work for a short walk, and he would pause from his responsibilities to meet her at familiar corners. The effort each made was a silent acknowledgement of how much the bond mattered and how neither wanted to let it fade away. Through small acts of care, they rebuilt the fragile trust that had been shaken. By the weeks apart, they shared meals, walked together in the quiet of the evening, and exchanged words of encouragement and understanding. Each action, no matter how small, reinforced the connection that had been forged in the earlier days of chance encounters and shared moments. One day, as they sat by the river and watched the reflections in the water. They spoke about their dreams for the future and the things they hoped to achieve. She mentioned places she wanted to visit and experiences she wanted to have. He listened carefully. Imagining a life where those dreams could be shared together, the conversation was light yet meaningful, a sign that their friendship had grown into something deeper and more resilient as they continued to meet. They began to anticipate each other's presence more consciously. They looked forward to the small moments of connection, the quiet conversations, and the shared laughter that brought a sense of joy and calm amidst the unpredictability of life. The bond between them became a guiding presence in their days, a reminder that despite challenges, some connections are worth nurturing and protecting through the trials of separation. The moments of doubt and the pressures of life, they learned the value of patience and persistence. They realized that love and friendship are not always easy, but that the effort to maintain connection, to communicate honestly, and to be present with care is what makes it endure. The story of their friendship during these challenging weeks became a testament to the strength of human connection. The small acts of kindness, the gentle understanding, and the willingness to rebuild after absence showed that true bonds are resilient and capable of withstanding the tests of life. By the end of this period, they had come to understand that their connection was not a fleeting coincidence but a meaningful presence in their lives. They had faced trials and separation, yet emerged with a deeper appreciation for each other and a clearer sense of the value of the bond they shared. Life would continue to bring challenges, but they now had the experience and understanding to navigate them together. The trust, care, and attention they had invested during the weeks of separation had strengthened the foundation of their connection, preparing them for the next chapter in the story that was slowly, quietly, and beautifully unfolding. After weeks of quiet, patience, and small gestures of care, their bond began to grow. Stronger and more confident, they had faced the challenges of distance and busy lives, and now approached their meetings with a sense of intentional presence. Each encounter felt more meaningful as both had learned to value not only the moments together but the effort it took to make them happen. One afternoon, she finished her work earlier than usual and decided to take a walk along the familiar streets. She noticed him waiting near a corner under the soft shade of a tree. He smiled as she approached, and they began walking side by side. Without needing to speak for a while, the silence was comfortable and full of understanding, a quiet way of saying that they had found each other again. As they walked, they spoke of small joys and simple observations about the city around them, the laughter of children, the sound of a distant street musician, and the way the sun caught the edges of buildings in the late afternoon light. All these details became part of their shared world, and a way to connect without urgency or expectation. One evening, after a long day of responsibilities, he invited her to sit by a small fountain tucked away in a quiet part of the city. She agreed, and they sat together watching the water ripple and flow. She spoke about her dreams, places she wished to see, and the hope that she could achieve them despite the challenges of her life. He listened intently, offering encouragement and sharing pieces of his own hopes that he had not spoken aloud before. In these moments, both realized that their bond was becoming more than friendship. Each gesture, glance, and word began to carry a deeper meaning. They were learning to trust their feelings without the need to rush or force them into words. Each day together added layers to the connection, building a sense of comfort and safety that neither had felt before. They began to explore the city together, finding small hidden spots that became part of their shared memories: a quiet park bench, a tiny cafe tucked away on a side street, and streets lined with trees in the early morning light. Each location became a part of their story, a place where moments of joy, understanding, and laughter were collected through these shared experiences. They started to open up more about themselves, their pasts, their fears, and their hopes were discussed slowly and carefully. She spoke of moments she had once kept to herself, worries about the future, and the challenges of balancing work and family. He shared experiences that had shaped him, moments of regret and lessons he had learned about resilience and hope. One evening, as the sky turned soft shades of orange and pink, they walked along the river that flowed through the city. The reflections on the water created a quiet, peaceful atmosphere. She spoke about the comfort she felt when he was near and how much his presence had come to mean to her. He shared similar thoughts. Speaking of the sense of calm and understanding she brought into his life over time, the trust between them deepened. They began to rely on each other for support in small ways. She would notice when he seemed tired or distracted and offer a kind word or gesture. He would pay attention to the little details of her day and offer encouragement or a gentle laugh. To ease her stress, the mutual care they gave each other strengthened the emotional connection that had been building from the very first chance encounters. Small gestures became more intentional. She might leave a small note or a coffee at his usual spot. He would sometimes arrive early to meet her after work and walk together for a while before parting. The thoughtfulness of these actions was not about obligation, but about showing care and attention, the kind that speaks without words. Their shared experiences and gentle support allowed them to explore vulnerability. They spoke about past mistakes and regrets in a way that created understanding rather than judgment. She shared a fear she had long carried, and he listened with empathy. Acknowledging her courage, he spoke of doubts and moments of fear, and she responded with quiet reassurance and care. Each revelation brought them closer, building a foundation of trust that would allow for deeper emotions to grow as the weeks passed. They began to understand the power of presence and patience in their connection. They did not rush or demand, instead, allowing feelings to emerge naturally while supporting each other through the challenges of daily life. The city around them became a backdrop to their evolving relationship. Each corner and street a silent witness to moments of quiet growth. One rainy evening, they found shelter under a small awning and watched the rain fall around them. She spoke about how much she valued these moments, even the quiet and simple ones, and how important it was to have someone who truly understood her. He expressed the same sentiment, realizing that the depth of their connection went beyond friendship and into a realm of emotional intimacy that felt rare and precious. They continued to walk, share meals, sit together in quiet spots around the city. Each day was a balance of presence and understanding. Small gestures and meaningful conversation, the connection they shared became a source of comfort, joy, and stability in a world that often felt overwhelming and unpredictable. Through these experiences, both began to recognize the importance of patience and gentle encouragement in cultivating a meaningful bond. They learned that love and care are not always expressed in grand gestures, but in the consistent attention, thoughtfulness, and understanding shown day after day. Their conversations grew deeper, touching on hopes for the future, dreams for places they wished to visit, and reflections on the lessons learned from past experiences. They spoke of the importance of trust, patience, and forgiveness, and how these qualities shaped not only their bond, but also their understanding of life and connection over time. They began to feel the strength of their emotional connection more fully. She realized that she could trust him with her fears and hopes. Without hesitation, he felt the same, finding comfort and courage in the knowledge that she understood him deeply and accepted him for who he was. Through quiet moments of reflection, shared laughter, and gentle support, they discovered the beauty of a relationship built on mutual respect and care. Each experience, a small gesture, and shared thought contributed to a growing sense of intimacy that was both comforting and exhilarating. As the days turned into weeks, their bond became a steady presence in their lives. They were learning that love is often found in the quiet, consistent actions of care and attention rather than in dramatic declarations or sudden gestures. The foundation they had built was strong and resilient, prepared to grow into something enduring. The story of their connection continued to unfold in subtle, meaningful ways. They learned to navigate challenges together, to communicate openly, and to value each moment spent in mutual understanding and support. The gentle growth of their bond became a testament to the power of patience, care, and quiet presence in nurturing love and connection. By the end of this period, both felt a sense of certainty that their connection was special and rare. The experiences they shared The trust they had built, and the understanding they had cultivated created a bond that was ready to move into a new stage, a love that had begun quietly, patiently, and gently was now ready to be acknowledged and embraced in its fullness. The bond they had built over months had grown strong and steady. Each moment spent together had added layers of understanding, care, and quiet love. They had learned to trust each other fully and to be present without needing to rush or force feelings they were ready to explore the next stage of their relationship with honesty and courage. One morning, she finished her work early and decided to take a walk through the familiar streets. The sunlight fell softly across the buildings, and the city felt calm and welcoming. She noticed him waiting near a small park. As if he had known she would be there, he smiled, and they began walking together, the rhythm of their steps matching naturally as they shared small thoughts and laughter. They found a quiet spot near a fountain and sat together. Sharing a simple meal, she spoke about the hopes she had nurtured for years, the dreams she carried quietly, and the fears that sometimes held her back. He listened intently, offering encouragement and sharing the courage he had discovered in himself during the months they had spent together. Their conversation moved to the future. They spoke of the places they wanted to visit, the experiences they wished to have, and the life they hoped to build together. Even as they spoke lightly, the depth of their connection was evident in every glance, smile, and gentle touch. Each word carried meaning, not because of what was said, but because of the trust and understanding they shared over time. They began to plan small adventures together, exploring parts of the city they had never seen or visiting quiet spots they had always passed by but never noticed. They discovered hidden gardens, tiny cafes, and streets lined with trees that created a sense of peace and wonder. Each new discovery became a shared memory, strengthening their bond and filling their days with joy. They learned the importance of communication, sharing their thoughts and feelings openly and honestly. She spoke about moments when she felt overwhelmed by life and the ways he could support her. He shared times of doubt or uncertainty and the ways she could encourage him without pressure. Each conversation deepened their trust and made them feel more connected and secure through shared experiences, gentle support, and small acts of care. They began to realize that their connection had grown into love. They did not need grand declarations or dramatic moments. The love was present in the quiet gestures, the thoughtful words, the shared laughter, and the comfort of simply being together. One evening, they walked along the river as the sun set, casting warm hues across the water. The reflections created a peaceful world around them. She spoke about how much she valued his presence in her life and how deeply she trusted him. He responded with similar sentiments, expressing the sense of completeness and joy she had brought into his days. They realized that their bond was no longer just friendship, but a deep and abiding love. They began to support each other in new ways, sharing responsibilities and helping each other navigate the challenges of life with each act of care. Their love grew stronger. They learned that love is not just about feeling, but about action, about showing up for each other consistently and with attention. They also shared quiet moments of reflection, sitting together in parks or by fountains, talking softly, or simply enjoying the presence of the other. The comfort of these moments, the shared understanding, and the gentle support strengthened the foundation of their love and created a sense of peace and stability in their lives. As their relationship deepened, they began to celebrate small milestones together. They acknowledged the growth they had experienced, the challenges they had overcome, and the ways they had learned to care for each other. They realized that love is built gradually, through patience, understanding, and the willingness to be present and supportive every day. Through shared laughter, gentle encouragement, and honest conversations, they discovered the beauty of a love that is steady, nurturing, and resilient. They learned to appreciate the small details of life, the quiet moments, and the gestures that often go unnoticed but carry profound meaning. They explored new parts of the city together, always finding small joys in simple things, a hidden cafe, a quiet garden, or a familiar street that looked different in the morning light. Each new experience became a memory to cherish and a reminder of the bond they had built one day. As they sat together watching the city from a hill, they spoke about the journey that had brought them to this point, They reflected on the chance encounter that had started everything. The weeks of growing friendship, the challenges and misunderstandings, and the gradual discovery of love, they realized that every moment, even the difficult ones, had been essential in shaping the depth of their connection. They began to dream about the future. Not with pressure or expectation, but with hope and excitement, they spoke about traveling, learning new things together, and supporting each other through the uncertainties of life. They felt confident that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead through all their experiences. They had learned the importance of patience, communication, and understanding. They understood that love is not always easy, but that the effort to maintain connection, to be present, and to care deeply makes it enduring and meaningful. Their days became filled with a sense of joy and fulfillment. Rooted in the presence and care they showed each other, they celebrated small victories, shared quiet moments, and supported each other through challenges. Their love had become a constant source of comfort, strength, and happiness over time. Their connection grew into a steady and unwavering presence in their lives. They discovered that love is not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but about the quiet, consistent acts of care, attention, and understanding that build a life together. They continued to explore, to laugh, and to share their thoughts and dreams. They supported each other through moments of doubt and fear, knowing that their love was strong enough to endure and grow, even in difficult times. Each day was an opportunity to deepen their connection and create memories that would last a lifetimes. They walked together through the city one evening, the lights reflecting on the wet streets and the soft sounds of life around them. They realized how far they had come, the journey that began with a chance encounter. Small gestures and quiet conversations had grown into a profound and enduring love. Their story became a testament to the power of patience, understanding, and care in building a meaningful connection. They had learned that love is not just about feeling, but about action, about showing up for each other consistently and with attention in the quiet moments, the shared laughter, and the gentle support. They found a love that was steady, nurturing, and resilient. They understood that true love is built over time through shared experiences, trust, and the willingness to be present and caring. Every day the city around them continued to move and change, but they had found a constant in each other, a love that was quiet yet strong, simple yet profound, and built on the foundation of friendship, trust, and care. They knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, guided by the love they had nurtured and cherished. In the end, they realized that some love stories are unforgettable, not because of dramatic events or extraordinary moments, but because of the quiet, consistent, and meaningful ways that people can care for and support each other through patience, understanding, and shared experiences. They had created a love that would endure, a love that was theirs and theirs alone. The love they had built continued to grow deeper. As each day passed, they had learned to appreciate the quiet moments and the simple gestures that showed care and attention. The city around them seemed different now, filled with memories of laughter, shared walks, and conversations that had slowly built the foundation of their love. One morning, she left the cafe early, feeling a gentle anticipation as she walked. Through the familiar streets, the sunlight fell softly on the buildings, and she noticed the small details of the city she had once overlooked. He was waiting at their usual corner, a small smile on his face that reflected the warmth she felt inside. They walked together slowly, enjoying the rhythm of their steps and the comfort of being in each other's presence. The conversations were light, yet meaningful. They talked about the little things in life, like the changing seasons, the flowers in the parks, and the sounds of the city that often went unnoticed. Each word and observation became a shared moment, a memory they would carry with them as the weeks passed. They continued to explore the city together, discovering small parks, quiet cafes, and streets lined with trees. Each new place became part of their shared story, a testament to the journey they had taken together and the bond they had nurtured over time. They began to notice the subtle ways they had changed since meeting. Each had grown more patient, understanding, and open. They supported each other in ways that were quiet but meaningful. Whether it was a kind word during a difficult moment or simply listening when the other needed to speak one evening, They sat by a river watching the sunset. Painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, she spoke about her hopes for the future and the dreams she had carried quietly for years. He listened, offering gentle encouragement and sharing his own aspirations. The conversation flowed naturally, building trust and understanding between them over time. They began to plan small adventures together, visiting new parts of the city or taking short trips to nearby towns. Each experience was shared with joy and curiosity, strengthening their bond and creating memories that would last a lifetime. They learned that love is often found in the shared experiences, the moments of discovery, and the simple act of being present together there. Relationship deepened as they learned to communicate openly and honestly. They spoke about their fears, doubts, and past experiences without hesitation. The trust they had built allowed them to be vulnerable with each other, knowing that their love was a safe space for honesty and care through the challenges of life. They continued to support each other. They faced moments of stress, worry, and uncertainty, but always found strength in their connection. The understanding and empathy they shared became a source of comfort, helping them navigate the ups and downs of daily life together. They celebrated small milestones, acknowledging the growth of their relationship and the effort they had both put into nurturing it. Each shared moment of joy, laughter, or understanding reinforced the bond that had begun with a chance encounter and had grown into a deep and meaningful love through quiet walks, shared meals, and gentle conversations. They discovered the beauty of a love that was patient, steady, and resilient. They learned that true love is not always about grand gestures, but about consistent care, attention, and understanding. One rainy afternoon, they found shelter under a small awning. She looked at him and shared a memory of the first time they had met, the way he had helped her with a tray of coffee and how that simple act had started everything. He smiled and reflected on how small moments can grow into something extraordinary, a love that transforms ordinary life into something memorable. They began to support each other in new ways, sharing responsibilities and helping each other through challenges. The love they had built was not just about emotion, but about action, about showing up for each other consistently and with attention. Each thoughtful gesture reinforced the strength and stability of their bond. As the months passed, they became more aware of the depth of their connection. They realized that love is cultivated through patience, understanding, and the willingness to be present for each other at the quiet moments. The shared laughter and the gentle care all contributed to a love that was enduring and profound. They continued to explore the city, discovering hidden gems and creating new memories together. Each new experience was shared with excitement and curiosity, adding richness to their shared story and deepening their emotional connection through these shared adventures. They learned to appreciate the value of trust and communication. They spoke openly about their thoughts and feelings, addressing misunderstandings and offering reassurance when needed. The foundation of their love became stronger. It's built on honesty, empathy, and care. They also discovered the importance of supporting each other's personal growth. She encouraged him to pursue his goals and dreams, while he offered gentle guidance and motivation for her aspirations. The mutual support strengthened not only their individual lives, but also the bond they shared. One evening, as they walked along a quiet street, they reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. They spoke about the early days, the chance encounters, the slow building of trust and friendship, and the gradual discovery of love. Each memory was cherished, a reminder of how far they had come and how meaningful their connection had become through the simple acts of kindness, the shared experiences, and the open communication. They continued to nurture their love. They realized that love is not about grand declarations or dramatic moments, but about the consistent presence, care, and understanding that grow over time. Their days were filled with small joys and meaningful moments, whether it was a shared meal, a quiet walk, or a conversation that lasted for hours. They learned to celebrate the ordinary as extraordinary, finding beauty and meaning in the life they were building together. As the seasons changed, they continued to grow closer. Each day brought new experiences and moments to share, and their love became a constant source of comfort and happiness. They discovered that true love is steady, resilient, and capable of enduring challenges while continuing to flourish through all the moments of laughter, quiet reflection, and gentle support. They realized that their connection was unique and rare. The love they had nurtured was not fleeting but enduring. It's built on trust, patience, and care that would last a lifetime. Their story continued to unfold in subtle and meaningful ways. Each shared glance, touch, or word became part of a larger tapestry of love, trust, and mutual understanding. They learned that the essence of a lasting relationship lies in the small, consistent actions and the attention given to the well-being and happiness of the other. By the end of this period, they had come to understand the true value of their connection. They had faced challenges, celebrated joys, and grown together in ways that were meaningful and lasting. Their love had evolved from a chance encounter into a profound and enduring presence in each other's lives. The city continued to move and change around them, but they had found a constant in each other. Their love was steady, nurturing, and resilient, a testament to the power of patience, understanding, and care. The foundation they had built allowed them to look toward the future with hope, confidence, and excitement for the life they would continue to create together. Through all the quiet moments, shared experiences, and small gestures of love, they had discovered the essence of a relationship that endures. They realized that some loves are unforgettable not because of grand events, but because of the consistent presence, care, and attention that make life brighter and more meaningful.